Hi. I have been told by people that are close to me, people that are even dear to me, that I am a frightening person to be with when I'm driving a car. And that isn't because I'm a particularly bad driver. I think I'm probably quite good. I've been practicing for a very long time. Maybe I've done 1,000,000 miles or something like that. But I used to be a taxi driver, and I would still now if COVID hadn't screwed up the trade for me. I would probably still be doing it. I've met taxi drivers in their 80s, and so long as you can pass the medical, you're fine to drive. In fact, I'm probably a safer driver now than I was 50 years ago. But anyway, that's beside the point. What has happened is that when I get in a vehicle and I start driving, this person, this alter ego, the little taxi driver in me, takes over, and I have a kind of ongoing internal dialogue going on with the people who are driving around me. You know, I remember, by and large, this is taking place in my head. I'm saying to people driving, "Oh, you idiot! You know, get out of the way! What are you doing, you stupid bastard!" You know, that kind of thing. I'm talking to people. They can't hear me. I'm talking to myself, really. And generally speaking, when I've got a customer in the back of the cab, I don't voice these feelings at all. But when you're driving with somebody you know, somebody you're close to, and driving an ordinary car, they're sitting next to you, some of this internal dialogue, which should be kept indoors in your head, it sort of leaks out into actual words. So I start saying things that are, well, apparently frightening, and it's something I battle with. I will try not to do it in the future, but it's very hard. You see, you can take the man out of the taxi, but you can't take the taxi out of the man. What can I tell you? Anyway, no, taxi drivers, I mean, apart from this internal dialogue thing, and I'm sure other taxi drivers do it, we're actually quite a sort of convivial, amicable sort of people, really. When we meet each other on a taxi rank, perfect strangers, we have in common that we are taxi drivers, and we go straight into conversations, quite deep conversations, depending how long you're there for. And if I was driving a cab and I broke down, I got a flat tyre, something, and I was on the side of the road, it wouldn't surprise me if another taxi driver stopped and offered to help. Yeah, we are good to each other in some ways, but we're also in competition with each other, and other taxi drivers, they're the opposition. And for example, what can raise hackles, for example, if you jump the queue in a taxi rank and you get a job that shouldn't be yours, it causes no end of grief. or if, say, you're driving along the road with another cab next to you, and somebody puts their hand up and you go, "Oh, that's my job," and the other person is thinking the same thing, "Oh, that's my job." They go towards it, and if the person gets in your cab, even if you haven't really invited them to, you get a mouthful of abuse from the other cab driver. See, I've worked over the years. I've worked with people of all sorts. I've worked with gardeners and labourers and warehouse keepers and all kinds of painters and decorators and all sorts of people, right? I wouldn't say people of all classes, people of, by and large, lower classes, sometimes middle classes. I've never really worked with the upper classes, but of those people, of the people I have worked with, taxi drivers are undoubtedly the rudest and most profane people I know of, and their language is foul amongst each other, not to the general public, but amongst each other, and they can be very, very rude to one another. They never, however, get out of their cab, and it never turns to actual violence, well, very rarely anyway. To give you an example of this, I was once, when I was on the Knowledge, driving a motorbike about London, learning my way around, I saw an incident where a cab had pulled up at the traffic lights, and a lorry pulled up behind him, and the lorry driver got out of his cab and went round to this cab driver and put his hand through the window, shaking him by the hair. And I couldn't understand. I thought, why doesn't that bloke just fight back? Why doesn't he? Why didn't he defend himself? And of course, once you are a cab driver, you realise that it's different, because what you realise is that, well, what he knew was that sooner or later that light was going to go green, and he was going to go, and then it'll all be over. He could lose that lorry in no time, and if he got out of his cab, and had a fight, he'd probably lose, because the lorry driver was younger and bigger and stronger than him, and it would be a complete waste of time. I mean, even if he managed by some fluke to deck this bloke and beat the crap out of him, it would have still hurt him, and he would have wasted time and lost money, and probably had to explain himself to the police, which would take all day and be a complete... I mean, as it was, if the lights changed, he could drive off, end of story, right? And that is by and large true. Cab drivers, their rule is don't get out of the cab. Get out of the cab to help somebody with their luggage, obviously, now and again, but don't get out of the cab in an argument or a fight. You're just going to lose. And the same thing applies to, for example, when occasionally somebody will get out of the cab and run off or refuse to pay. Just bugger off, right? Well, you could get out and chase them, but you can't really leave your cab. You'd have to put your change in the boot, lock up, park your cab somewhere safe, go off, by which time they've gone, they've disappeared. Or you could just get out of the cab, leave it all, hope for the best, which very rarely occurs, and then chase after this person. What are you going to do when you catch them? You're going to beat them to a pulp, if you're lucky, and they don't pull a knife on you or beat you to a pulp. And what are you going to do? If they had the money that they owe you, they'd probably pay you, right? So what are you going to do? Beat them, go through their pockets, find out they got nothing, and then the police come, and you spend another day in a police station explaining your actions. It's quite possible you will get done for assault and battery. It's just not worth it. I mean, when somebody gets out and runs away, they probably owe you like, I don't know, a handful of coins or a few pounds, £5 or something like that. Well, I wouldn't fight for £5. I mean, if I was sort of a prize boxer, a heavyweight boxer or something, or even a lightweight boxer, and somebody offered me thousands of pounds, even though I knew that I wasn't going to win, I might be tempted. But for a fiver, I wouldn't cross the road for a fiver. So people that, you know, this whole idea of a sort of road rage, well, I'm not really, when I'm getting back to driving a car and people being frightened of me, I'm expressing a dialogue, an internal dialogue, which belongs internally. I agree. It's sort of leaked out somehow. It shouldn't, because it's not really road rage. I mean, my blood pressure, my heart rate is not really increasing. I don't really care. I mean, I'm just saying this all, and I'm saying it to myself mainly, but sometimes that leaks out. Anyway, I've got that off my chest. I've just remembered an incident that illustrates how cab drivers can be rude to each other. I was in the Strand. For some reason or other, I was nearer the curb, probably behind. I was not in front of this other cab, but he was in front of me, in fact. But I was nearer the curb, and somebody came out of a side turning or out of a door and came straight to me, got in my cab. Now, I wasn't going to chuck him out. You say, no, this is your car. He was in. Get over it. And it happens all the time. You know, if the boot's on the other foot, I just swallow it, really. But anyway, this cab driver in front of me says, "Oh, that was my job. You should have, you know, that was my. I was in front of you." He said, I said, "Well, you know, he's got in my cab. What can I do?" Anyway, he said, "You're a monk." Oh, I said, "Am I?" I said, "What is a monk?" And he said, "You are." So I maybe I'm a monk. I don't know. I don't really know what it means, but I'm sure whatever it does mean, it's not a nice thing. Anyway, that's my admission for the day. And don't be frightened. I'm not a very frightening person. I'm really a very safe person to be with. I'm harmless. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye.